Okay, a couple more tricks. A lot of this has to do with just trying crazy stuff. Here, if I turn this layer off, the visibility icon, it's the exact same thing. If I change the blend mode, multiply, things are going to get a little darker, lighten. Now, it really doesn't do anything because how can you lighten something that is exactly the same? However, if I grab these handles, remember our transform controls are on, and I rotate this and then hold down shift, you can see how things are changing. And I want it to snap right there. Now, I could keep rotating this and keep trying different things, but I'm just going to stop right there and then jump this to a new layer because I just want an exact copy of this. And then what happens if I rotate this again? Now, this is lighten still because it copied the blend mode along with the layer. Well, I don't have to stay on lighten. I can try different things. And I'm not going to try to make anything wonderful. I just want to show you a couple more things because the filters are someplace where kids get lost and tend to do, well, I did the same thing when I first found them too. So blur and motion blur is pretty cool. And then stylize and find edges is pretty useful. So right now, but you don't want to use those straight on a layer because they're destructive. See, right now we have changed things because of duplicating that layer. And I'm going to once again, this time, I don't want to jump it because I don't want to copy that multiply mode. I want to create a new layer and then create an everything layer. Remember the shortcut on a Chromebook, Shift, Alt, Command, Control, E, MacBook, Mac. I just, you guys in shortcuts. Shift Option, Command E. So, sorry. But this, I want to try to find edges, see what happens. Well, first I want to create a smart object. Can I convert this? Right click and convert to smart object. Okay. In Photoshop, I just make, now I make a shortcut, but what's the use of a smart object? Now, if I put a filter on this and let's say find edges under stylize, find edges, that is destructive normally. But because this is a smart object, I can turn that off and I haven't lost anything. Okay, so right now I want to change that blend mode again, and what happens if I try something different? What kind of effect do I get? So you guys know that jumping to a new layer works if you're not using blend modes unless you want to copy that blend mode. Otherwise, you make a new layer and then make a new everything layer. Shift, Alt, Control E on a Chromebook, Shift Option Command E on a Mac. And the Chromebook and PC command are exactly the same. You have fun with this. Remember when you get to the end, what do you want to do with this? And if I hold down Option, yeah, I can flip this horizontal. And what do you want to achieve? That is going to be a factor of, experiments that work, don't work. You hit a brick wall, you delete some layers, you back up, you try new things. That's the process. How can it work for you? And what unexpected things can you possibly come up with? And then we're going to add a layer and a new adjustment layer. And I'm going to go to hue and saturation, click colorize. Then you can change this to make this more uniform. I went to that blue before. You can play with the saturation more or less, cranking it all the way sometimes, a little too much. Little overall control, right? And then I put a layer in order to make this better, new adjustment layer, and I used curves. Curves are good for advanced, but maybe levels sometimes can be better. This is the distribution of black to white. Grabbing this center handle gives us a little control over the overall feel where that midpoint gray is. And I can hide that and then go, what am I doing? Layer, new adjustment layer. These are all somewhere I don't expect. Curves are cool because it's still the distribution of black to white, and we can move that center point just like we did before and get the same kind of effect. Or we can make different points and adjust this differently for different parts of this, and we get a completely different look than this. We get so much more fine-tuned control. And then anytime you make a roller coaster, crazy things happen, and not normally good things, but for some kids, this is the greatest thing on earth. I typically don't make roller coasters, but of course, there's an exception to every rule. Have fun with this experiment. What can you come up with? You don't need to start with this image right here. I'm holding down Option and clicking on the eyeball to turn everything off but a single layer. And you don't have to start with something like this. You can experiment with whatever you want. What can you make? What can you discover? That's what this is all about. Option clicking again turns it all back on.